Happy International Labor Day. This is a day that goes to celebrate people who are doing extraordinary things to keep the economy afloat through the works they do, the input they make, the labor they give in. So shout out to everyone. I would like to give a Labor Day message, particularly in regards to business. Of recent, I have got a lot of questions from people concerning which businesses or which business they should venture into. Now, this question usually is kind of a tough question, but the truth is, I never have the answer to this question. But there is a question, an answer to this question. Now, the answer to this question I'm going to give to you in a story I learned from my grandfather. The story goes like this. There was a gentleman who was not married, in love with, trying to get married, of course, and in the search for a woman, he kind of had a couple of women, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. The story goes, all these women get pregnant around the same time. So his father gets concerned and asks him, what's going on? Why do we have multiple women getting pregnant? Are you planning on settling down? So you need to settle down. Now, before we get to the nitty-gritties, I need to know who these women are. So tell me, who are these women that you have gotten pregnant? So the son gets to answer the question, and he says, there is Jen, and then the father interrupts him and says, stop right there. The fact that you mentioned Jen means there is something there. So it's Jen you're going to marry. So what am I saying? Normally I do the same thing to people who ask me such a question. Which business do I want to venture into? I mean, do you think works? So I ask them, which kind of business would you want to venture into? And ask them to list at least 3 or 4 of those businesses. And usually the first business, I tell them, you know what? That's a business you should possibly venture into. It's like walking into a restaurant and asking the waitress, what are you guys serving today? And the waitress begins with, we have gobe. Now that is off. When you walk into a restaurant, you're expecting the waitress to begin with the fine, with the proper, perhaps the chef recommended meal of the day or today's special. You cannot begin with the list of the foods. Now, I'm not saying that gobe is the list of the foods. It's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. But you get my point. The first business that you think about, the first business that you are drawn to, perhaps is the business you should take. Now, this doesn't mean that it's guaranteed to succeed. Well, there is a big statistics that says up to 70% of businesses fail. The statistics is actually high. But how do you make your business work? Now, you have to put in the work. Now, this is where many people go wrong. They think that businesses, people who have businesses out there chilling, relaxing, because they're their own bosses. Dude, when you are your own boss, it's actually tougher. You have to put in 3 times the work you would normally put at your daytime or employment job. Businesses are not just just for joking. Let me give another example. I have heard people say that this business is bad, that business is bad. Now that is very misleading. Why? Because, for example, a Rolex business is bad. Really? I know of people who have ventured into Rolex businesses and are doing great. You've heard of Yuga Roll. Yuga Roll is a Rolex business that is doing great. In Arua we have barrels. We have restaurants that are doing Rolexes in their menu. So Rolex business is not bad, but there are people who have failed terribly in the Rolex business, and that is the truth. Somebody could say having a grocery shop is terrible news, is a terrible idea. I know people who have succeeded. Their grocery shops have grown into supermarkets and they have built empires from grocery shops. And I know people who have failed flat. They began with a kiosk. 20 years up to today, they are still in a kiosk, and well, that's not failure. What I'm saying is they have failed to grow. But there are also people who have started kiosks after a few weeks, a few months down the road, their capital is all gone. So every business works. Every single business works. So for you to decide which business you want, of course, my criteria could work. But most importantly, you have to put in the work 10 times more than any other person would work.